Hey, everybody, it's Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And we're back here live at Cisco Live reporting on the conference. And I have with me Joshua Umphrey, Chief Technology Officer for the Olathe Public Schools District in Kansas. Joshua, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So the big part of that is, and we're going to get to your very interesting story in just a second, you're also not only a CTO, you're also a Cisco customer. So this podcast is going to help us understand what it's like to be right in that front row seat of all the stuff people have been talking about, observability, the vulnerability of public institutions that serve the public, but may not have a huge amount of money, and nevertheless are now being targeted. So we're going to be visiting that in a second. But Joshua, I think you have a story that a lot of the IT people that we reach might be able to relate to. You actually got to be CTO beginning by being a history teacher.
Yeah, that's correct. Definitely an atypical route. And start off my career as a teacher in the high school in Olathe, Kansas. Actually, Olathe East High School is where I first started off my career, and taught American history and American government to 18-year-olds, and just had a really great experience being a teacher, and did that. Actually coached football and boys golf too as part of my job description in that school, and really just loved every minute of it. I think the ability to really educate and be a part of something bigger than yourself and give back to kids, it's a really great life job, and I'm happy to have had that part in it. Then as part of that, I then transitioned to be a high school principal shortly after that. And at the school that I was at there is probably one of the most technologically advanced schools in the state, if not the country, and maybe even in the world. We had people come from all over the world to look at what that school was doing differently in terms of how we use the building to educate kids. We used that building to roll out the first district one-to-one initiative, and really got kind of connected with our district IT people at that time, and was able to make some really good connections with a lot of folks, and kind of helped give me more of a background in IT, and help me kind of open my eyes into how the IT department within a school district can really help make a kid's experience in a school district even better.
So that's interesting. The building itself was a part of the teaching process.
Yes, that's correct. So to kind of give a real synopsis of it just very quickly, the building itself is designed in a different, almost like neighborhoods. So the freshman class typically hangs out in one area of the building. And then within that area, there are different classrooms based on different designs. So you might have a more lecture type hall, maybe a more collaborative type space, a more of a flexible area with movable desks and chairs, maker spaces, learning stairs. And the teachers do not have the same classroom every day like you'd typically see in a traditional high school. They utilize space based on their needs. So they're constantly moving around those neighborhoods, finding the best location that's going to help encourage better instruction and better engagement of the students, and really kind of keeps kids on their toes, but really make sure that the physical space of the building is truly making the educational environment better.
Now, when you came on board as a CTO, was the district already a Cisco user?
So that's a great question. So when I came on as CTO, yes, there was a little bit of a transition shortly before that, and we were able to get connected with Cisco, which in my opinion, they just provide unparalleled customer service, and really go out of their way to make sure they understand the goals that we have as a district, and make sure that they're carrying them out. Because truly, all of us are unique. It doesn't matter whether you're in. There's no cookie cutter mold for all K-12. There's no cookie cutter mold for every institution that Cisco gets to support. So they really take time to listen, understand the needs specific to our district, and really look at ways to make sure that we're fully supported.
So Joshua, you have 60 schools, 30,000 students. That would make you in any person's book a good sized regional operation, a regional corporation like a bank or a medical care system and so on. As a school district of this size, you're using Cisco. What products specifically in the Cisco portfolio are you using?
Yeah, so a lot of our projects we range from all over the board for sure, but our infrastructure is built kind of on a Cisco backbone, and we could not be more happy with the services that they provide. And again, going across 60 different buildings and roughly 36,000 1,000 users across the district. I mean, you have to have something that is dependable. And I will tell you one thing, that you never know how dependable people can be on a network when it goes down, like in a kindergarten classroom, and the kind of chaos that can ensue. So we know the dependency that our staff has on making sure that our network is reliable, it is always up, testing and everything that goes, through our backbone on a regular day with schools. We know that we need the best to make sure that is, giving our customers what they need. And our customers range from a 5-year-old to an 18-year-old senior to, a 40-year veteran teacher, and they all have different expectations of what they need the network for. And it provides some unique opportunities for us to make sure it's working effectively. And Cisco truly does give us that partnership that gives us that confidence to ensure that we're providing the best environment for our kids and for our staff.
Historically, institutions like a school district and so on, everyone's vulnerable, but historically we've never thought of, we usually think of finance, maybe healthcare, defense, and so on. You're now sort of the front line. The bad guys are actually targeting organizations like school districts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, with school districts, we are lucky to live in a great place of Olathe that supports our initiatives, that understands the risks that educational institutions are facing on a regular basis, and really does do their part to support us financially, but we're definitely limited too. So we do have to leverage things like E-rate funding, and we have great support with Cisco to help us navigate the E-rate funding to make sure we're getting the best products in our hands. But you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of school districts, unfortunately, are a little bit behind in the understanding of just how vulnerable school districts are. We carry some incredibly precious information and information about our staff and our students, and we know how valuable that is to bad actors, and we want to do our part to ensure that it's protected at all costs, and Cisco really does help us fulfill that goal.
Joshua, it's very interesting. Education, I guess, is a bit like healthcare. It's in a larger corporation, you might just have the organization itself and its interests, but not only do you have, in a sense, customers, you have individuals, each with their own needs, plus you have the faculty with their own needs, vendors, and so on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think what another part that makes education a little bit unique is we have 30,000 active, hackers trying to get into our system on a regular basis, and that provides a whole unique situation where, we know that kids are best pen testers, and they're going to try to find those vulnerabilities and find ways to get to games or get to things that they want to do on a regular basis. And we're still consistently obligated to the Child Internet Protection Act and making sure that we are fulfilling those federal regulations, and again, having a partner in Cisco to help us navigate those things in real time as they come to our tables. It just is I can't speak enough to the partnership. There's a lot of vendors out there, but there's a few vendors that once you do sign those checks to get the products that you need, that will just stay with you to make sure that it's running effectively, efficiently, and always look for new ways to better support the environment that you're trying to create.
So you run the technology shop, but you also know what it's like to be a teacher. And here we are, we're starting to roll out AI into the classroom, I guess. What does that look like for the school district? What does that look like for the demands on you as CTO and your network?
Yeah, great question. So, AI is amazing, and what it's capable of doing is truly incredible. The one thing about teachers specifically is teachers, they're kind of they live on the bleeding edge, and when they see something and what it's capable of, they love to run with it. And we have some amazing teachers. I'll give a quick shout out to my wife, who's also a teacher in the public schools, Olathe Public Schools, and the leverage that they can take from AI is truly incredible. But we need to do our part to make sure that they're educated, trained on effectively using it, making sure that we are still always being held up, to a higher standard in terms of data privacy, where our student information is going, because we all know you can plug in student information into an AI engine and get back some incredible results, but we need to understand what that actually means and ensure that we have the guardrails in place to ensure that we're not training models or sending that information out into the wild, but keeping it within a concise environment to ensure that our student information is only kept within Olathe Public Schools tenant.
Joshua, as a Cisco user, with the Cisco news and releases that occurred this week, do you see your organization taking advantage of any of these new products?
I think it would be silly not to continually look at that. And I think one thing I really pride us on in Olathe is we have a great team of people who are constantly looking at ways to improve, constantly looking at ways to become more efficient. And, when it comes to a school district, you don't have these huge IT departments. In fact, we're probably lucky in terms of IT departments where we have a pretty good number, but we're still probably woefully understaffed compared to, like you said, an institution our size. But we have incredibly brilliant people. And I think we are constantly looking at the Cisco products that we have, finding ways to better leverage their uses, looking at what Cisco is now getting ready to roll out. And so we can leverage AI agents to be able to better monitor in real time, our environments to ensure that we are being safe and aren't experiencing any sort of attack or vulnerabilities. Again, we're excited about what Cisco brought out this year and how we can continue to look at ways to use it in the future.
Joshua, IT manager, IT CTO guy to CTO person, what's your advice for 2026 and beyond?
Honestly, lean into those you trust the most. And I think, Cisco being one of those people, the people on my team, you can never do it alone. I think often CTOs feel a little bit on an island. We definitely take on the responsibility that when things go bad, it falls on us. We hopefully push off the celebrations to our team when they are there. But you don't always have to be that way. And I think it's important to lean on those people that you have, build those relationships, work with your vendors, work with your partners at Cisco, work with people in your industry that also utilize Cisco products. We have a lot of really great teams of people. I sit on the Cisco K-12 advisory board, and I have a great group of people, CTOs like me, that help bounce ideas off of. So utilize your networks, find people that are dealing with the same situations you are, lay down your swords, for lack of a better term, and just make sure that you find ways as a collective community to keep kids safe, especially in the K-12 environment, but to keep the people that you serve every day safe.
So as we wrap up our podcast, I want to turn briefly, you just mentioned the Cisco vendors, Cisco Partners. What should, from your point of view, what should the Cisco Partners understand how best to serve organizations like yours, especially school districts?
Well, I think you got to take time to really get into what we do specifically, ask questions. And again, I could not be more thankful for the partners that we have and the time that they take to sit with us, to truly ask the right questions, to understand our environment and what we need, because there's no cookie cutter mold to this. And every school district is different. Every institution is different. And you really need to get into what they're doing on a day-to-day and figure out what best fits their needs. And I think that asking the right questions is a big part of that. Truly understanding what we need, building those relationships, it goes a long way. So I would just encourage Cisco and all the partners that we work with directly to continue to ask those right questions of us and get to know what our needs are on a day-to-day.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you.